Guys, it is now late on Monday evening and I've just heard the news about Hattons. After almost 80 years of trading in the UK and being one of the top 2-3 retailers for more railways, they have started to close their doors. They are now closing down. This has come completely out of the blue. I don't think anyone on the ground, so to speak, was expecting this to happen, but unfortunately it has. Now, Hattons sent out an FAQ to all of their subscribed email, to all the people subscribing to the Rails database. I was on that, and it said that if you have any pre-orders with Hattons, they are still going to be looked after. If you have any pre-orders in regards to the Accurascale stuff, see Accurascale's website, they have more details about that. Now, they aren't insolvent. They haven't gone bankrupt from what I can gather. This is just a case of they've seen how things are going. They've looked at what the industry is doing. And it seems that the higher-ups have made a decision to now roll down and cease trading. Now, they have got a little bit of a sale on to help grease the slowdown procedure, if you will. So maybe check it out if you're feeling like you could do with some bits and pieces. But I did say this would happen. I said, was it 3-4 weeks ago from today, that this sort of thing was going to start happening. Retailers are going to start looking closely at the environment at which they have to sell products in. Then Hattons themselves have said, because of the changing demographic and how things are happening, that is why they're having to stop. So if the prices of everything going up aren't to blame for this, and I don't know what else is, the constant price matching, the battling, the race to the bottom, well, I guess Hattons have come first in that, haven't they? Now, that wasn't the main intention of this week's video, guys, but I just wanted to mention it just in case there's a few people out there that haven't heard yet. Anyone from Hattons is watching, I am sorry, guys. I genuinely am. It's difficult out there at the best of times, and to have to go through this at the start of a new year, it must just be incredibly difficult. So, you know, you have my regards. Okay. So, that said, guys, we're going to crack on with the rest of this week's video. This week then, do we need to expect more from manufacturers? I'm talking from locomotives, I'm talking about rolling stock, I'm even talking about the technology they use within them, and even the technology they use to support them. We pay the highest prices we've ever paid, and I am not convinced from what I see on the internet every single day and what I hear from people at model shows that we are actually getting a fair deal in terms of quality control. Let's have a look and have a chat, shall we? Right then, thank you for joining me. Come to flack up on again. I've missed wearing this thing. It's not all the time, and I lost it and found it after the move around, so I'm happy with that. But anyway, to the point at hand today. Quality in model railways. See, it seems like the more and more the hobby moves on, that features and things of that like improve. It seems that the quality and reliability seems to come more and more into the limelight as well. Issues with new tube models are becoming far more frequent, and almost as frequent as the announcements of the models themselves. Now, we can accept to a point that these days it's far more difficult and complex to build a modern image locomotive, not modern image, but a modern example of a model locomotive or wagon or whatever, than it was 10, 20, 30 years ago to build something like a Lima Class 37 or a Lima 40 or even an old Hornby one or an old mainline locomotive. Things have moved on quite a lot, especially with things like detail you can't even see, which we spoke about recently, underframe detail and all the rest of it. But in our ever increasing quest for improved detail and little finicky bits and all these silly little things that we didn't have before, and the insistence that this is what the modeler wants, issues do inevitably crop up. And these can range from mildly annoying to incredibly frustrating. We're looking from minor faults like bogey detail parts falling off the model when you're just handling them, to more serious ones like decoders blowing up and motors failing and things like that. Things a bit more intervention, shall we say, a bit more of a proper correction, if you will. I'm trying to find the words for it. Often going back to the manufacturer for a bit of warranty tinkering and a bit of spannerage. Also, in tandem with that, we do now seem to be far more in contact with manufacturers than we were 10, 20, 30 years ago because of the advent of good old social media. We can now talk to people almost directly, especially with things like Facebook and email, people from Hornby and Bachmann to a degree, but Accurascale, Rapido, all the smaller manufacturers there on hand to talk to, and chances are you're going to get through to someone that can help you if you do have one of these finicky little issues. But as a result of that, I'm not too sure if the fact that we sort of see these people as friends in a way, and because of that, because we know we can talk to them and reach out and things like that, have we started to allow, or even started to expect, that with the increased things like fine detail and everything else, that we're almost expecting things to a degree to go wrong. To a certain point, we're expecting things to go wrong. Like, for example, Charlie at Chadwick has recently posted a video of his Class 37, which has been a bit unwell, it's misbehaving itself. My Class 37 has also misbehaved itself in the past, as I'm sure you can see if you go check out my other videos. And it's that ability to contact a manufacturer and talk to them and have a laugh with them online things. Are we treating them with friends, and are we letting them get away with a little bit too much? They kind of know now that they can, well, we don't need to do that because people will message us and we can sort out the problems as and when they arise, which I suppose is fine in a way, and doesn't stop things being frustrating for you or I, but it does seem like that might be the case. Can't guarantee that, but that does seem like it might be something that's occurring. I'm not too sure. What do you think? I mean, you only need Google your locomotive here problems and you will find page after page after page, maybe even videos of people that have had issues like yourself, or different issues you've not encountered, or your issue might be the only one you can think of in to see. No one else has had your particular problem. But the point is, if you Google just Accurascale 37 problems, you will see page after page after page after page of people that have had issues. And that's not really the point here, because it's not just Accurascale that suffers quality issues. The chaps from KR Models and their Fell, they suffer a little bit. Rapido's Class 28, funnily enough, I've got one on there, they've had major issues. And these are just a few examples of modern models having issues with running and things like that, and it's just a bit annoying, really. Even Hornby have, well, Hornby have just, let's leave the Hornby dumpster fire alone to smoulder in the corner while they try and sort themselves out, shall we? We'll move swiftly on from that one. Point is, there's not a single manufacturer out there who can claim a 100% success rate when it comes to manufacturing. Failures and duds and everything else are just part of the manufacturing process, and you are inevitably going to find something comes along and gives you a hard time, whether it's a bogey falling off or a motor failing or a decoder going pop, bang, fizz, whatever, you are going to find it. The problem is when these one-off instances, which manufacturers, oh, we've never heard of that before, you're the first person to come to that. Am I though, really? I don't think I am. Again, just Google it and you see lists. Anyway, if you want to do that, fine, have a Google, you'll see what I mean. I mean, if you're producing a model and it won't run on less than perfect track, for example, that immediately removes like 80% of the modelers out there who would potentially want to buy a model, but they don't want it because they're not sure if it's going to run on their track. And is that really fair? To expect them to spend £200, £300, £400 on a new model to find out that actually it doesn't run around their layout, and everything else they have pretty much does. It's just this one model which doesn't play nice, and it's a bit frustrating. Are we giving them a bit too much slack, as it were? Should we be demanding more in terms of quality for our money? I think we should. And I think manufacturers are genuinely trying their best to provide that quality. But I don't think the ultimate balance has quite been reached yet. There's still too many issues happening with these expensive premium models. And it's not like it's just the beginners that are having models, it's experienced modelers as well which are having problems, so you can't even put it down to people's not having a clue or an idea about what to do. It just seems to be happening. Prices are going up, but is quality control going up? Truly? Who knows? Of course, you only ever hear from the 3,000 or so people where they've had a problem, and you never hear a peep from the 10,000 people who've never had a single issue with their models at all, because why would they? There's nothing wrong, you don't make a fuss when nothing's wrong, do you? If you're lucky and you've seen a post and you think, oh, I'll tell you what, yeah, I've got one of them and mine's actually absolutely fine. No issue with that whatsoever. Bit risky though. Are they going to get in touch and say, well, actually, you find that mine's fine? More often than not, you get the people tippy-tapping away, shouting and rambling that mine's gone wrong and yours are wrong and this is rubbish and I'm never going to buy from that manufacturer again and blah, blah, blah. Now, rolling back to Charlie for a second, looking at his video, which is his latest video as of this moment in time, you see an interesting thing with the Capacitors 37 is that the middle axle on the bogie is rigid because they have 6-wheel drive or 8-wheel, whatever it is. They have all-wheel drive on their model, and that's fine. Problem is, like I said, if you've got imperfect track work, it causes the bogie to pivot and wind up. And my 37 has done this as well. My 37's got a few issues which need addressing at some point, and I'm going to have to make a decision about whether I move the model on or whether I contact Capacitors, have them look at it, see if they can address these issues before they become a massive problem. What I will say is that in the past, when I've spoken to Capacitors about issues I've had, I've always had a great response from them. I've always had a polite response, I've always been met with courtesy, and I've always had the issues sorted out promptly and correctly, and I've never had to, what's the word I'm looking for, I've never had to send it back again and again and again. I understand some people out there haven't been quite as fortunate as that, and I can't say anything on that. I can't say why that might be the case. I can only tell you my experiences, which is what I'm doing here. By all means though, leave a comment down below and let me know what you have experienced in regards to that. Not just with a Capacitors, but you know, Hornby, Dapol or whoever. But that said, it's not just models we need to look at in terms of quality, reliability, and even technology. It's the little electronic devices as well, such as the humble Stay Alive, which I think what we'll do, and even pickups to a degree, we'll have a look at those in a little bit now, and I'll just show you what I mean. Right then, so you join me at the wacky workbench. This is the baseboard for the new Engage layout, but it will serve our purposes just fine. So I'm talking about also expecting more in terms of technology. We pay a good price, we deserve the best, and I'm not sure we're always getting that. Now, every now and again you'll see two products on the market and there'll be two different prices, and you'll think, well, why is this one so much more expensive than the other one? And just for an example, I'm going to use Stay Alives as an example today because I have recently been using them. So what I will do is I will bring the Rapido Class 28 into view now. Now you won't be able to see this because it's Engage, but you'll get the point entirely. Now, inside this locomotive is a Stay Alive circuit. Now, not the one you're thinking of. When you buy a Stay Alive from wherever, it comes as a little packet and you have wires and you solder it in and away you go. Now, what I've had to do, because of the size of this little thing, is the Stay Alive was physically just too big to fit in out of the box, and it would not fit inside this loco or any other loco for that matter. So I started rooting in my spares box and I found a old Lays DCC Stay Alive. And what I did is I knocked the Class 28 over. So I tried to think of a way to make the Stairlife fit. It was too big and too bulky. So what I did was quite simply, I took it apart. I removed the shrink wrap and I was left with this. A control board like that with several capacitors soldered straight to it. As it comes, they were soldered like that to the board, positive and negative, and they were lined up, so on and so forth. Now the issue is this board is really wide. It's a very wide board, and these cost about, I think they're about 15 quid, 12 quid, something like that, from the old Eagle of Bay. And the capacitors are this size. So I spent the next couple of hours extending the wires like you see here, and then hiding the capacitors in the cab. You can't see them, but they're in there. There's 2 in the front cab and 1 in the rear cab, and it works fine. There's plenty of space. I could even put a speaker in there if I wanted to, but I don't. Now, consider this. Look at the size of this capacitor, and then we have this product here. This is a DCC Concepts Stairlife circuit, and the capacitors they've used are halfway between a capacitor and a supercapacitor, and you'll see there's just the size difference on the capacitors alone. They are, I would say, at least half, if not a third of the size of the capacitors you get in the laser one, and they're a little bit longer. But these would have been a lot easier to fit inside that loco had I found this one first as opposed to the laser one. And also, because look at the size of the board is tiny compared to that. The board on this one is huge. The circuit on it is massive, it's huge. And this one is so much more narrow and thinner, and it works the exact same way, if not better. So if you really are struggling for space, these would be the ideal way to do it, because you've got 6 capacitors on here. And you could take each one of those off, and you could remove them from the board and piggyback them with wire and hide them wherever you wanted. Now, had I used these, I wouldn't have had to put them in the cabs, because these would have sat quite nicely under the roof like that, no problem at all, and that would have been that. So just bear in mind, things aren't always what they seem. It's cheaper for a reason, boys and girls. It's cheaper for a reason. So certainly in the future, for me, I know exactly the type of Stairlife capacitors I need to be using for N-gauge stuff. Double O gauge, you've got all the space in the world, you really have, so it's not such an issue. But for N-gauge, when you need to think about space a little bit more, these will be far more useful than the bulky ones. And these aren't much more money, but they are a much better capacitor. Just remember, guys, always ask yourself, are you really getting the best for what you're paying? There we have it. What do you think? Don't feel bad about expecting more from manufacturers, whoever they are. But we do pay a big price for things these days, and we do expect the best, and we don't deserve excuses. And there we have it, folks. That's it for another episode, if you want to call it, another edition of Iron Horse Weekly. Hopefully you've had fun watching it. Let me know down below, as usual, what your opinion is. Do you think I'm talking broken biscuits, as usual? You got something interesting to add? Please let me know down below. So once again, thank you very much for watching. If you feel like you've enjoyed the video, come on, do the right thing. Leave us a like, do the subscribe button thing. We all enjoy that. It doesn't cost you anything, and it makes me feel validated, like I'm not wasting my time. So until next week, folks, take care. That's it. Bye.